Oh, yeah. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for stopping by and welcome to the Buckeye Zone. This is where we break down anything and everything related to our favorite college football program, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I don't know about you guys, but man, I'm getting excited. I'm getting really fired up here. Today marks 45 days until kickoff. That's right. We're going to be starting the season in 45 days up north in Minnesota, going up against the PJ Fleck Golden Gophers. It's going to be on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock on Fox. And I like tradition, but I'm not beholden to it. I know a lot of people are out there saying, oh, we should have only games on Saturdays, whether it's, at noon or at 8 o'clock at night. You know what? I really don't care. At this point, have the games on Thursday. Because after the year we had last year in 2020, where we had so many things taken away from us, and we almost lost our college football season due to COVID and all the restrictions and the knuckleheads over there, like Kevin Warren and the Big Ten university presidents, the NCAA, not being transparent and not being able to rule functionally. I'm just thankful we have a season this year and that it's starting on time and that most of the restrictions are being lifted. I know Gene Smith came out a while back and said that Ohio Stadium was going to be operating at full capacity. And you know what? I applaud those efforts. I don't know if there's any guidelines. I think I saw that there's going to be no masks. They're not going to have, the vaccination passport checks or whatever. You know what? At this point, I'm just thankful that we're going to have a season and it's going to start on time. I'm getting excited, man. I'm getting jacked up. I haven't had coffee or Mountain Dew or any Rockstar, anything like that I normally drink to get me an energy boost. I'm just excited that we're going to have a season here. It's going to be 45 days away. Hopefully you guys there in Buckeye Nation are getting excited too. And you know what? We've got a lot to cover. I really wish I had the time to do a podcast show every single week because, lately we've had tons of news coming out, tons of things happening. And I feel bad that, I can't dedicate any more time than I am already to doing this. I've got a career, I've got a family, I've got other aspirations that I'm doing board work for some nonprofit organizations. So, life is just crazy. And hopefully when the season starts, I can do a podcast every single week. I appreciate all of you that tune in and listen. We've been steadily growing our Facebook numbers, followers and likes. Greatly appreciate all of you. And I wish I could do a little bit more, but I can only do so much. It's only one man operation here, and I'm going to do the best I can here, covering all of these news topics that have happened in the last 2 weeks since our last show. I dropped show number 5, the podcast, right before 4th of July weekend. I usually title my shows, but this time there's just too much to cover. And our last show, I titled it Fireworks because, obviously 4th of July weekend, but whenever there's a recruiting commit, whether it's, say Coach Day or one of his other coaches, Hartline, Larry Johnson, Kerry Combs. I think I've even seen Gene Smith go to Twitter and say, boom. That's excitement with fireworks. And that's why they say boom every time you get a new commit. On social media, you see current players, former players, commits already to Ohio State saying, hey, we've landed another boom. We got another big time commit. And that's what we were expecting on 4th of July weekend. There was one giant firework, one giant commit, and he is a He is a giant of a young man, that's for sure. And JT Tuimaluau, hopefully I said his name right. I probably butchered it, but either way, we'll just call him JTT. He was still lingering. He was still out there. He was like the final big time commitment for the 2021 class, 5-star defensive lineman. I think he was rated like a 99%. He was like the number one overall prospect, I think, through 24/7 sports recruiting services, if not composite, which is, an average of all of the recruiting services. He was like in the top 3. You know what? You're splitting hairs, 1, 2, or 3. Let's just say the kid is that good. He's that special of a player where, he's ranked in the top 3 in whatever recruiting service you like to follow. He was a big time get. And, he hadn't made his commitment. He was coming down to the wire here because all these other guys are signed, they're enrolled, they're participating in practices, summer workouts. But he said from the very beginning of last year that, he wanted to take official visits to some of these top schools that, he really was looking hard at. And, he made 4 official visits after Ohio State's. After visiting Columbus, he decided to cancel his 5th and final trip. It was going to be to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And so everybody was saying, okay, it's official, he's going to be a Buckeye. Well, on July 4th, he did come out and made it official and said that, he was going to sign his letter of intent and was going to go play for the Buckeyes. And that was huge, man. I honestly believe Ohio State was the front runner all along. A bunch of crystal balls were coming out and saying that, he was going to be a Buckeye. They were favored from the very beginning, but, for JTT, he was pretty quiet, man. He wasn't all about, look at me, look, where am I going to go? He wasn't talking. He wasn't out there publicly discussing this. He really wanted to go and take these visits. And, a lot of guys didn't have this opportunity, but, since he's that special of a player, he could afford to, wait around. He could wait until the NCAA lifted those restrictions on players going out and taking official visits. And that's what he wanted to do. And since he's that good of a player, these universities were going to, leave a spot open for him. And I know Ohio State did. And ultimately, I think one of the reasons, he hasn't come out and said it, at least I don't think he did. One of the main reasons why he ended up canceling his visit to Alabama is because I truly believe Nick Saban didn't want him to be a 2-sport athlete. It came out that, he wanted to try it. He wanted to be, his top choice was to play football, but he also has a passion for basketball. And Ohio State's basketball program, it's been on the uptick ever since they hired Chris Holtmann as their head coach. And if you look at, social media or just news in general, you can kind of see that, Holtmann and Coach Ryan Day have kind of got this relationship going. They seem like they're pretty friendly. They talk quite often. They're supportive of each other, the football and the basketball programs. And I truly believe one reason why JTT made his commitment to Ohio State is because I think Holtmann and Day are in lockstep, man. They've come out and I think they want this guy on campus to help both of their programs. And that was, I think, maybe a tipping point. And you know what? I can't fault the kid. He wants to try to be a 2-sport athlete. You don't see it very often anymore. You know what? Go for it. You only live once. If you have a passion for both sports and both head coaches for both teams are saying, hey, go for it. Well, we're in agreement. You can split your time. playing for both sides like that, playing football and basketball, and then go to that university and give it a shot. You don't have to necessarily decide one way or another. You've seen other guys doing this. Of recent memory, I think, what was it, Kyler Murray that was doing this, Russell Wilson. Granted, I know it was baseball, and there was a little bit more time in between sports, but you know what? Go for it. So JTT made his commitment on July 4th to be a Buckeye. Huge get that helps Ohio State solidify their overall second rating for the 2021 class, just behind Alabama. And currently they're first place in the 2022 recruiting cycle. And on July 5th, they got a big time 4-star commit, a wide receiver named Kojo Antwi. I'm going to butcher some names, man, so bear with me. But Kojo is another big time wide receiver that, Brian Hartline is just killing it. I couldn't be more pleased having this guy coming back to Buckeye Nation, representing us extremely well. He had a pretty good NFL career, and he came back to Buckeyes. He loves this university, and he's just been tearing it up ever since he got hired as a wide receivers coach. He's developing guys, and he's also doing a heck of a job on the recruiting trail. And so hopefully we can keep him around for a long time. I feel like he has a strong passion for this university, and he's been not only recruiting the heck out of guys, getting 4 and 5 stars, but he's also doing a pretty good job of development. I mean, sure, everybody's like, oh, you get 4 and 5 star guys. Of course, you're going to have studs at that, that unit, that position unit. Well, who might be the best wide receiver this upcoming season? It's Chris Olave. He wasn't a 4-star or a 5-star guy. I'm pretty sure he was a 3-star. And so I had never heard of him. I don't know, sure if any of you had heard of him while he was coming out and was a freshman. But, he's exploded after that game against the team up north. He had 2 receiving touchdowns from Dwayne Haskins a couple of years ago. And in that same game, he had he blocked a punt. So, yeah, he's helped develop some guys. And it's amazing what Brian Hartline has been able to do. And then also I think it was like a couple days later, Buckeyes weren't done in that 2022 class. They end up getting a 4-star offensive tackle from Colorado, kid by the name of George Fitzpatrick. And you know what? Keep building, man. Keep on getting those recruits, those 4 and 5-star guys. I like to see them actually win one of these recruiting cycles. They've been pretty close under Urban Meyer. They were pretty close. It's a whole nother level, from Jim Tressel. And I'll talk about Jim in a little bit and some of the other things going on. But, Tressel, I think one of his recruiting cycles, he finished like 72nd in the country. That's just insane to think about, for, a blue blood program like Ohio State to have a recruiting class that was ranked 72nd in the entire nation. It was just kind of crazy to me. And then Urban Meyer took it to a whole nother level. I think he finished every single recruiting class while he was at Ohio State, like in the top 7 composite. I mean, it wasn't just focusing on Ohio guys. Obviously he had a success out in Utah and Florida, and he was definitely recruiting the heck out of Florida at his time at Ohio State, but he was also getting big time guys from Georgia and Texas. I think got some guys from California. So he made it national for sure, while trying to keep, some of those studs in Ohio, keeping them right there in Columbus. So Ryan Day is just continuing that trend, if not doing better. I'm not quite there yet, but he is doing a phenomenal job keeping heavy recruiters, big time recruiters like Brian Hartline and Larry Johnson and Kerry Combs on our staff. That's definitely going to help moving forward. So big time fireworks on 4th of July weekend, getting JTT, getting Kojo, getting George Fitzpatrick. It just keeps on rolling. The rich continue to get richer. And, you know, honestly, guys, I could keep on going. This is, you know, I try to keep my shows at 30 minutes in length. And so I'm going to try to do that here, but I could easily make this show into 2 or 3. But the main topic I really wanted to get into, and I'm just now getting into it at the 16-minute mark, is something massive that happened, that the NCAA came down, I believe it was on July 1st, said that, you know, for years they've been talking about paying players and covering name, image, and likeness. And that's the whole reason why they got rid of, there was a lawsuit. That's why they got rid of the whole EA Sports game for NCAA football. Broke my heart. Happy that they're going to be coming back in a couple of years. But that was the whole reason why they got rid of that game, is because of the lawsuit where they were talking about name, image, and likeness. And they really were pushing and saying that college athletes are amateurs. And, you know, we should be paying players. And, you know, I've kind of gone back and forth on this whole topic. I really have. And, you know, I was against it from the beginning about paying players because I felt like they were already living like kings. You know, they already had the benefits that other college kids weren't obtaining, you know, that they weren't receiving. You know, they already got free tuition, and some of these universities are crazy, their tuition. So just having their scholarships pay for free tuition, a lot of them were getting stipends or whatever for meals and housing. They're already getting top-notch medical care, transportation to and from either to the facilities, or obviously getting plane tickets and plane rides to travel to and from games, getting university swag and equipment. I don't know. That's just a lot of stuff going into given to these college athletes. And I understand they work their butts off. I'm not saying they don't. These guys are definitely working hard, not to mention, you know, everything going into, you know, studying the playbooks, studying their opponents, like game film, practices, weightlifting, not just playing the games, but, you know, they're out there killing themselves, literally, especially like in football, you know, with head injuries and knee injuries. These guys, you know, they definitely earn their scholarships. Don't get me wrong. But the idea of paying them as well, you know, I kind of was on the fence. I'm like, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? There's a lot of things that could go wrong. And so there was just a lot of things for me to consider whether or not I agreed with, you know, name, image, and likeness. But then I'm like, well, how much money are they bringing into their university? I know Ohio State football, because of 2020 and COVID, they came out and, you know, the athletic department said that, you know, they lost between 100 and 130 million dollars in 2020. And that's a lot of money. I don't care how you want to dish it up, how it wants to be served, but 100 to 130 million dollars that the university lost. And you stop and think, how many other sports are able to continue to be in operation because of the football program? You know, you wouldn't have, I know for Ohio State, they have like women's synchronized swimming. No offense to them, obviously, to, you know, those athletes, but they probably wouldn't have a sport if it wasn't for Ohio State's football program. A lot of athletic departments depend on the football teams bringing in the revenue to, you know, basically funnel out that cash to keep these other, sports alive and to survive. And so is it really fair that the universities are profiting so much money off of the backs of and the hard work of these student athletes? I don't know. Maybe they should be getting paid. And then, my second thought was, you know what? I believe in America. I'm not going to go on a political rant here, but I believe in capitalism. I truly believe if you work hard, you should be able to profit off of yourself. If you're providing a good or a service, if people want to pay you for an autograph, then okay, go for it. You know what? It's your name, it's your autograph, it's your signature. You should be able to make the money how you see fit. So as a capitalist, I truly believe, why restrict that? The government gets in the way of our lives and makes things worse all the time. And the NCAA is absolutely no different. And so I'm like, okay, maybe they should be able to profit off their name, image, and likeness. And I really don't, at this point, have a problem with it. I really don't. But then, there's so many things that go along with it. Like, man, the NCAA they really suck, man. I really felt like they only did this because they felt so much pressure from different states. State legislatures were coming out and were passing laws, and it was just going to be inevitable. It really was. And I'll get back to that in a second. But, like, I have so many different questions. Like, who is really going to be in charge and enforcing any of these sort of rules? And is it based on what? What is it going to be based on? Is it just going to be based upon the states that have those legislations that have been passed? Because not all 50 states have passed. It's not a federal laws either. It's based on individual states, and only like maybe I think 13 that I saw that have passed anything like that. Is it going to be, who's going to be enforcing the rules? Is it going to be the individual conferences, the states, the individual schools? Like, we don't know. And that's why, I rip the NCAA, because they just, okay, go ahead and do it. And I feel like, well, aren't you going to set any guidelines? Aren't you going to have, come out and have these restrictions? They just really didn't come out and say a whole lot, and just left it based upon, I think it's based upon the schools themselves to come out and, police themselves. It just really, I don't know. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's just, okay, just go ahead and do it. We care, but we don't care. And I was listening to, another podcast with Guy Scott Sr., and he was having some negative feedback about it too. Some of these families, some of these kids are by themselves. How are they going to navigate when the money starts coming in? How are they going to navigate taxes or financial literacy? And how about another negative that might come out of it is, people will start asking these athletes for money. These I call them kids, these young men, for money. I mean, I see a whole host of problems, and I kind of agree with Guy Scott Sr., because it opens up the door to a whole lot of problems that they're not necessarily thinking about the ramifications. But since they felt pressure from various states that they had to do something, here's some things that I pulled up. If I could get my computer to work here, things that guidelines that are in place. I'm just going to go ahead and read some of this. It says basically which are in accordance with Ohio state's law and NCAA rules that may apply. Student athletes, once they enroll at the university or begin practices, then they can start being compensated for these activities. These activities, but are not limited to, are autograph signings, personal appearances, social media endorsements, camps and clinics, private lessons, and promoting commercial products or services. Okay, that, sounds good and all, but there's also some other restrictions, and they have to get it cleared by Ohio State's athletic department. The Buckeyes coaches and staffs are also not permitted to be involved in any name, image, or likeness activities, whether it's arranging, assisting, promoting, or contributing in any way, such as social media content, videos, photography, graphics, or logos. Players are not allowed to sell their team-issued equipment. So we're going to go back to that when I talked about Jim Tressel. But the players are not allowed to sell their team-issued equipment and apparel until their eligibility is exhausted. And they are not allowed to enter any agreements with any companies that are promoting distilled spirits, tobacco, casinos, controlled substances, or adult entertainment industries. So there are restrictions. They have to get it cleared by the university in accordance with, like I said, the state legislature of Ohio State and the university themselves. And, when I talk about that one line alone, players are not allowed to sell their team issued equipment and apparel. That's what the whole issue with the Tattoo 5 and eventually got, Jim Tressel fired / resigned. That was the whole problem right there. And it looks like, that it's still going to be an issue for that group of 5 players who recently came out. Once name, image, and likeness went through, they had issued a statement saying that they wanted to have their wins and their statistics to be reinstated by the NCAA. And I really don't think that's going to happen. It was a rule back then. So I feel like while it was a stupid rule, it didn't really help them achieve greatness on the field. And taking away wins is just dumb in general, because we all watch the games. We all have the memories. You can watch it on YouTube. You can go ahead and say that they didn't win the game, but we saw them play the games, right? We saw them do amazing things on the field, and taking away those wins and those records are just plain stupid. But whatever, it is what it is. I don't know if they're NCAA. I'm pretty sure they're not going to go ahead and say we're going to reinstate those wins. They're already vacated, whatever. While I disagree with it, it is what it is. I mean, Terrell Pryor and the rest of the Tattoo 5, they did a great job in 2010. I mean, they had a 12-1 record. They were Big Ten champs. They won the Sugar Bowl over the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, man, it sucks that they had to, forfeit, I guess, those wins, and Jim Tressel ended up losing his job, because I truly believe Jim was trying to protect his players. But man, it still sounds like if name, image, and likeness was a thing back then, 11 years ago, they still would have been in hot water. They still would have been in trouble, trading in equipment and awards for the tattoos. But it still sucks. I still, either way, I feel like that was a pretty good team. They did great things, and it's unfortunate that Jim lost his job, but we like to play, what if that didn't happen? How long would Coach Tressel still been at Ohio State? Obviously, the Buckeyes wouldn't have been able to hire Urban Meyer. I truly believe at that point, he probably would have gone to Notre Dame and taken over that program. Obviously, he grew up, I don't think he grew up around Notre Dame's program. He did for Ohio State, but, he did coach over at Notre Dame with Lou Holtz. So, he had some fond memories. I guarantee he probably would have taken that job. And we know he would have done a phenomenal job as the head coach there too. So I don't know. It stinks that, Jim had to lose his job, that we had to vacate those wins, but it sounds like by these guidelines, name, image, and likeness still would have held up, and they still would have broken the rules. But whatever, name, image, and likeness is here. The NCAA hasn't really put out any guidelines for it, but I'm happy that the Ohio State legislature came out and put pressure on the NCAA. It helped that Coach Day was able to argue on the benefits for paying players. He ended up arguing on their behalf at the Ohio State Senate committee. And then, I believe it was the next day, they went ahead and passed that legislation. And I think Governor DeWine ended up signing that bill. So, you know what? Ryan Day is obviously strengthening his favorability with his own athletes and to the commitments of those individuals that are looking to play for Ohio State's program. It just makes him just look that much better, and I applaud him for his efforts, for having the back of his student athletes. So he's done a phenomenal job as he's taken over as head coach. And it kind of, switching topics again a little bit here. I'm just all over the place. Sorry, guys, but I got a lot of things to cover, and I'm already at my 30-minute mark. So I'm going to try to wrap this up here. But, Coach Day, he's done a phenomenal job at Ohio State. I couldn't be more pleased with his efforts. And it kind of, I'll just go ahead and say, it kind of pisses me off a little bit when I see some of these preseason reports that I think are just a joke. And I think they're basically clickbait, trying to get people to click on their stories. That they had, the top, I think it was USA Today or someplace, I don't know. I didn't save the actual article, but it came out and said that there was a list of the top 20 head coaches in college football, and Ryan Day was not listed in the top 20. And I'm sitting there thinking, all right, this is a complete joke. Because I saw the list, and they had 4 Big Ten head coaches, and Ryan Day wasn't one of them. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. The man, all he has done is win football games. Even when he was the interim head coach and coached for those, first 3 games or 4 games while Urban Meyer was still the head coach, all he did was win. I think his record is 23-2. I'd have to double check that. I don't have it right here in front of me, but he's in his first 2 seasons as the head coach at Ohio State. He has won back-to-back Big Ten titles. He's also been recruiting at a very high-end level. It just doesn't make any sense to me. He's got his team in the playoffs 2 years in a row, won a game against Clemson. The only thing missing from his resume is the national championship. Literally, that's better than some of these other goofball coaches that they had on this list ahead of him. I mean, one of them was, you're going to laugh at this. I don't need to poke fun at Mr. Khaki Pants, Jim Harbaugh. But the other one is Franklin there at Penn State. Literally, there's a stat here, or a couple stats that I need to mention. In 7 seasons for James Franklin at Penn State, he is 1-8 versus ranked road teams, 2-11 versus top 10 teams, 7-14 versus Ohio State, the team up north, and Michigan State, and 3-3 in bowl games. You think that justifies him being higher ranked than Coach Day? I really don't understand that at all. That is a total snub, and it's a slap in the face. It's disrespectful, whatever you want to call it. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if you don't want to include him in the top 3 or 5, okay. Maybe the reasoning would be the fact that he hasn't won a national championship, and you want to only include those that have won a national title. I mean, you got Nick Saban, you got Dabo Swinney. There's the top two guys. Mac Brown, I know he's at North Carolina, but he has won a national title with Texas. So okay, he's not in the top three if you want to use that as your criteria. Jimbo Fisher is coming to my mind. I know he won the title at Florida State, and now he's at Texas A&M. Okay, so he's not in the top four. Who am I missing here? Like Ryan Day is like right there. He should be at least number 5, possibly 6. I mean, it's just, come on, guys. What are we doing here? Your list is bogus, and I really wish I wrote down the name of that person that wrote that article, because it's obviously complete junk. It's garbage. But I love me some Mike Gundy, that rant he had. I'm a man, I'm 40. Because he calls that news article and news editor garbage, just makes me want to puke. Yeah, that's basically what I want to say about that, about this particular list of the top 20 head coaches, and Ryan Day is not a part of it. Just makes me want to puke. But anyway, we'll move on from that. I know I'm getting long on time, but I greatly appreciate you guys there, Buckeye Nation, listening to me. I'm excited about the season coming up. We've got the Big Ten Media Days. That's coming up this week. I believe it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to happen in Indianapolis, basically my backyard, because, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's like 2 hours away. So it's going to happen pretty close to home here. It's usually in Chicago. I think that's where the Big Ten headquarters is at. But for this year, they're going to do it in Indianapolis. So that's cool. I'm excited that, hopefully we can see our Buckeyes in the Big Ten championship game. I'd love to go back down to Lucas Oil Stadium and watch that game. And also, I believe the national championship game this year is going to be in Indy. So, I'm excited, man. Ohio State's got a good team this year. I'm excited to see who the quarterback's going to be, whether or not it's going to be C.J. Stroud or Kyle McCord. Jack Miller, I think, is probably not going to make it, but whoever the quarterback's going to be, you're going to be leading a dynamic offense. Those receivers, the running backs, it's just going to be amazing to watch. Defense, it's got to be better than last year, man. They were so bad last year. Watching them get torn up by, I don't mind them getting torn up as badly against Alabama, but against IU, come on, man. Like, I know the quarterback's pretty good, but we got to be better than last year. That's all I'm going to say. The secondary is going to be improved. They're going to have more time this year. Obviously, COVID destroyed their off-season workouts and getting ready. And I truly believe in Kerry Combs. He's going to have his second year as being the defensive coordinator. I'd like to think he's going to be improved. That secondary is going to be improved. The linebackers, I'm really interested to seeing who's going to be starting. How are they going to play? Because they're basically replacing 4 guys at that unit. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So I'm getting jacked up, man. I'm getting excited about the season. 45 days away. Lots of things going on. Lots of interesting things happening around college football. And before I leave, I want to throw a shout out to Troy Smith and Braxton Miller, but definitely Troy Smith. Today's his birthday, and I want to wish him a happy birthday. It's kind of cool. On Facebook, it looks like he is following our podcast on our page, and he's, replied to a couple comments that I've made on his Facebook page. So it's hopefully he's listening out there, and greatly appreciate it. He's doing some interesting things. Him and Braxton Miller are teaming up on a couple different things. They recently had a youth camp for a bunch of little guys running around out there. They did like a 3-day camp for age groups 8 and 10-year-olds, and then another day was 11, 14, and then 15 through 17. So they've been out there doing this camp, and then they're also trying to start up their own prep school. I think they're working with a bunch of other people, trying to get Urbana, I believe I said that right, Urbana prep school or a prep academy. They got some things that they're doing. I'd like to reach out to Troy, the 2006 Heisman Trophy winner. I feel kind of connected to the man because, that's the year I would have been graduating. I think he's slightly older than myself. So, it was fun watching him run around playing ball out there in 2004, 2005, 2006, just tearing it up, man. He did a phenomenal job as a Buckeye. Obviously, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. Followed his career closely, and he's back at it doing some good things with the youth. And their camp with Braxton Miller had a ton of former players come back and talk and teach. I believe Coach Tressel was there too. So, doing some great things there, Troy. Got a big fan here. You've represented Ohio State well, and we're definitely proud of you, and hopefully you can continue this string of success. So yeah, we're definitely behind you. Hopefully I can reach out to you, see if we can get you on the show and promote this prep academy that you're starting to work on, and see if there's anything else that you've got in the pipelines, things that you're working on. But yeah, we covered a lot of things today, guys. I ran a little bit late. I try to do it a half an hour or less in my time limit, because I know you guys are busy, and I know I'm busy. I definitely could have split this show up into at least 2 shows, possibly 3. And I thank you for hanging out with me, listening. I do encourage you guys to promote this show, promote our Facebook page. I'm also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google. Please don't be hesitant on sharing this podcast. I want to try to get it to grow. I would like to hear also back from you guys. Please leave me some comments on my Facebook page. Let me know what you guys think. How can I improve? That's the main thing. I just want to try to get better. I'm just having fun, guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Buckeye Nation, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm proud to be part of one of you guys, and hopefully you guys are having fun and listening. Get excited, guys. Buckeye Nation, we're 45 days away from the start of the season. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we get some more news coming out about the Buckeyes, and then say maybe their depth chart. I think we're going to get some more information out of these Big Ten Media Days. It's going to be fun. I'll try to recap it, what we learned from what Ryan Day has to say to the media. And you know what? We'll try to get a couple more shows in before the season starts. And you know what? Have a great summer, guys. We're unfortunately on the middle/back end of our summer. Go to the pool, go to the golf course, do what you need to do, hang out with the family. It's been a fun summer compared to last year's, because last year we didn't know we were going to even have a football season. And so I'm getting excited, guys. Hopefully you are too. Buckeye Nation, love you, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember, go Bucks.